Hi, welcome to another episode of Stein Fireside Podcast. This is part 2 from the AANS meeting from last month. Kai had apparently a lot more friends than I realized, and so let's see who else he was able to talk to there.
All right, so here we have Jamie Van Gompel. He's one of my colleagues in functional neurosurgery at Mayo. You guys may see him on future episodes in the Stein headquarters back in Rochester. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself in a moment, but as a functional neurosurgeon who practices, we have a lot of overlapping cases that we do. Dr. Van Gompel has invented a bunch of little wonderful tools that make a bunch of steps in my surgeries great to do. And I get proxy advantage from all of these attachments that he makes and other things. So he really embodies what I think the spirit of an innovator should be. So thank you for that, my friend.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself? I'll hold it for you.
Jamie Van Gompel, neurosurgeon at the Mayo Clinic. Just do a little bit of functional, not a lot, and more skull-based, but I love working with this guy. Dr. Miller's a fantastic colleague, and really appreciate learning from you as well, man.
Yeah, well, I mean,
hugely innovative person, too.
So Dr. Van Gompel does skull-based surgery as well as epilepsy. And it's really nice for me because if I have cases that involve the skull base, I talk to him, we do them together. I also benefit from that. Something we ask, and I probably know all these, but we've been asking people is, a lot of times at these meetings we talk about little tricks we have. What's a little surgical trick that you want to share? Something that might not make it into publication.
Our cannulas, right?
Yeah, yep.
So he was just saying how we modify things at the Mayo Clinic. And the cool thing is we work with engineers all the time to do whatever. So I, fortunately or unfortunately, had the opportunity to cover a case for Dr. Miller once with a little frame where we didn't shave the head on a young boy who was a quarterback, big kid, real thick hair. And we tore out some hair, and I said, we got to do better than that for our female patients and our guys. So him and I co-developed this cannula that we just put it into the robot, and we drop it in, and we drop a little straw down through the skin. It cuts a little bit of the scalp out like a punch biopsy, 2 millimeters, keeps the hair out, and it allows us to do what we do, and it speeds up the case. So
yeah, it helps my surgeries a lot. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have Angie from Medtronic here. Angie, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Angie Meister. I work with DBS with Medtronic at Mayo Clinic.
Yep. So when we have these meetings, there are always people from industry. And a lot of what we do in neuromodulation is with neuromodulation devices. And so when we have this event, we have lots of colleagues from industry, sometimes from science that join us. So what I've been asking a lot of people that are surgeons is what's a little trick that you would share with the community to help make your surgeries a little bit better. But in your case, what's a little trick that you would want people to know about the interactions that we have with our patients who may be getting neuromodulation?
I think the biggest thing is listening. So listening to the patients and how we can support them on our end, on industry, whether it be what they leave with, what they go home with, or maybe even some education on the process in general. Because for DBS, it's a scary situation, and even Medtronic has the ambassador program, which is patients that have the device that potential patients can reach out to and just get not the doctor, not the rep, but a real life person kind of living their life with DBS.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful to have you here. Thanks for sharing. Hope you have a good night. I've got my friend David Darrow here. He's a functional neurosurgeon at University of Minnesota, just about an hour up the road. We're going to have him for a full podcast interview. But he's really interesting because he started out as a mathematician and then became a neurosurgeon. So he comes up with a lot of the most clever things, I think, that are coming out of our field. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm David Darrow. I grew up in Texas, did all my schooling in Texas, and then I got tricked into migrating north to the great state of Minnesota. And now I've been there for 13 years and faculty for 6. Super excited to be part of that the podcast. I think this is like the most exciting time ever in our field.
Yeah,
So many
absolutely.
different areas are changing simultaneously, but we're feeding off of each other. And I think that's like what's making it work.
Yeah, we have a wonderful supportive community in neuromodulation and in neurosurgery. It's a magical time and place to be. So we'll see you soon for our full length podcast. Joy to have you here as always.
you,
One
sir.
thing before you go, a lot of times we're asking about tips and tricks when we talk with each other at these meetings. What's a little surgical tip you could share with the audience? Some that might not make it into publications, but if you were watching a show, you'd want to know, what's this little thing you do?
I think the one thing for me, since I do a lot of pain, is it's so important to get a full history on every single patient, because it is what statistically it dominates the patient's trajectory more than anything that you can do for them. So understanding the patient is critical when you agree to operate on them. And I think even if you have APP support, if you have resident support, just having a personal discussion with the patient about who they are and where they're from can change everything about expectations and about their outcome.
That's really insightful. Thank you. We've got Chen Wu. He is also a functional neurosurgeon, somebody I particularly admire and picked up a lot of tricks from in the past. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from.
Sure. Chen Wu. I'm at Thomas Jefferson in Philadelphia.
Okay. Something that I really admire about what you do is focusing on ways to maximize surgical precision in stereotaxy and understanding sources of variation. So I think that's particularly great. Would you be able to tell us a little trick that you have that's not a different device or something else, but a little surgical trick that somebody in the audience could use that might help their accuracy just a little bit?
Ooh, that's a tough one because there are a lot. It's a lot of little things put together, right? It's never just kind of
Absolutely.
one easy thing. There's like no magic bullet that all of a sudden is going to make things more accurate. It's
Well, tell us
I
the
think-
least important one then. How's that?
Well, I mean, what the answer I was going to give you initially was going to be like, the trick is attention to detail, right? It's
Yeah.
attention to every little detail along the way.
Okay.
right?
So what's one of those details?
So I guess it depends. You're talking about DBS, you're talking about SEEG, what like stereotaxy in general.
How about stereo EEG? I think for you, we can get a few tips.
So, I mean, so the little things that I harp on is, it starts in the planning. It's trying to plan trajectories that are, as orthogonal to the bone as possible. So it just makes your life easier. That's not always possible sometimes. So if you're going to do that, you can't force, your drill to, to be faster, right? The drill's going to be as
Sure.
fast as it is.
Yep.
And I see a lot of my trainees that
Or
don't necessarily
pushing.
understand that.
Yeah.
And so that's where you start skiving. And,
Yep.
you also have to have the right drill bits because
Sure.
that's where the instruments matter because,
Which drill bit do you use?
so we use a flat tip Dixie drill bit.
Forward kitting. Yep.
Right.
Forward cutting. I use the same.
And because if you look, actually the orthopedic literature has a lot of this where the flat tip, like square drill has a side cutting ability, so it's less likely to skive.
Yeah.
Whereas a bevel tip that you might have for normal drill
Yeah.
might skive more.
Yeah.
So that actually has a mechanical advantage. So
Yeah.
skiving. I went down a rabbit hole on this as well, is that
You
in
do the
reality-
tapping. I do this tapping as
I
I'm doing it.
don't- I
I
don't
tap up and
necessarily-
down, so if there's a little bit of deflection, it recorrects and gives me that channel. It
I-
doubles
I-
the drilling
I go,
time.
I
but
go
it helps.
slower before until I feel like I'm through the outer table.
Yeah. You
But
can skive on the inner table too.
you could. Well, it's less like, but yeah.
I'm not-
I think, but I think ultimately, the other thing I was going to get at is that one thing we don't have that I've been asking our industry partners about is that in reality, the number of flutes on the drill bit matter too. We have 2 fluted bits all the time.
Yeah.
The orthopedics know that 3 fluted bits are better
Yeah.
for getting rid of bone and less skiving.
Absolutely.
And that
Yep.
doesn't exist yet, right?
Hopefully, someone from industry is watching this. We want to get this.
So it's harder on a smaller drill, but I think it's still possible. And then, with SEG, you you're not able to see. So opening dura is very important. I think there's not enough care to opening dura, and you can get skiving off the dura if it's not well opened. So I will stay on the dura with the cautery and with the idea that you want to thin out the dura and then even just push the tip a little bit through the dura and then let the dura melt away from the cautery before you advance it. And then you have to also open PIA. If you don't open all these layers, then...
I take my cautery probe and I actually advance it into the cortex a little ways. Obviously not on. It's after I've cut through the dura. Then I advance it through just to make sure the arachnoid has a wide enough opening to where it's not going to catch and deflect.
So all those things. And then after that, then you're kind of married to that trajectory, right? So I think I would, say a lot of the tips are with the bolt placement and everything like that. And then you can always check the bolt placement when you screw it in, check as you take the bolt driver out. Does that bolt move?
Does the bolt move?
And if it moves,
do you meet resistance pulling it out?
But, one thing I was actually just talking with Jamie about was we actually started using a different drill. We started using the Midas with a smaller drill bit. So it's running at 75,000 RPMs and not just a striker. That I think has helped immensely because our bolt.
And is this a handheld rather than sort of the gun design?
It's a style. Yeah, it's an inline drill now.
And
so
I thought a lot about that.
That weight doesn't play a role. Right? So it's like, I think what it comes down to in a lot of these accuracy things, it's nothing fancy, right? We talk about like stereotaxy, we talk about all the brain stuff, but like the accuracy stuff comes from the setup and the drilling and things like that. So
checking your steps, making sure you do each element right. I agree.
And then there's the whole like I said, you're kind of married to that once you start that trajectory, and we've had conversations about things that happen in the brain that you can't control. But
the brain deflects in response to the incident object. Absolutely. Well, it might be fun to have you actually talk on the podcast where we do a shared PowerPoint. Like we do PowerPoints and we alternate with interviews, but maybe you and I together could have a discussion if you'd be willing to do that.
I think we need to start making this idea of intraparenchymal electrode deviation as a real entity, because I think there are a lot of people that
and we can engineer the tips, right? Engineering the tip, I think, would do a lot for us. A
lot of different ideas there, but it's a uncharted territory right now.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here tonight, as always.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I've got Dr. Orman here. He is something called a Van Wagenen Fellow. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, yeah, that's where you do a fellowship at the end of residency and go somewhere outside of North America to do a year of training. Kai also is, Dr. Miller, is also a Van Wagenen Fellow. So I went to Germany.
I went to the Netherlands, but it's one neurosurgeon a year. It's pretty great. And so even though he's a tumor surgeon, he still comes to Stein. We have a connection because of Van Wagenen and just being friends. So something I've been doing with each person today is asking them about a little technical tip that they have that helps make their surgeries a little bit better that they would share with our audience.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, a technical tip. So I tell people I do a lot of intraventricular surgery. So the problems that I see people who try to do it in the community is like always use navigation to get to the ventricle.
We're the neuromodulation group, Stereotaxic. We all subscribe to that.
It's like use navigation.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Hope you have a good day. Good night.
There's my one tip.
And we get lots of time together. Is there one time you say something to the audience then?
What? Huh?
Oh?
One more thing?
One more thing.
Who's the audience, I guess?
People in neuromodulation.
People in neuromodulation.
Industry, surgery, and science.
Okay.
And neurology.
Well, I'm appreciative for a lot of the advances in neuromodulation because I think we do a lot tumor and functional. We actually have a lot of crossing over with monitoring.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like intraoperative, MRI, connectivity. There's a lot of connections between a glioma surgeon and a functional and epilepsy surgeon, right? We do a lot of the same stuff in the OR, so a lot of overlap. So I'm appreciative of a lot of the work you do.
Hey, me too. For tumor.
Both ways.
I did a tumor fellowship.
Like
I don't know if
Wilder
you know
Pinfield,
that. I did a glioma fellowship.
So that's
There you
got
go.
you ready for what you're doing.
For epilepsy and functional. Yep.
Yeah.
And
There's
peds.
a ton of crossover.
Awesome.
It's true.
Okay,
All right.
thanks. All right, we've got Dr. Karazudis, who is my chief resident, but also my PhD student, and he's actually the formal host of today's meeting. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. So I'm Panos. I'm a chief resident at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I've been working with Kai since my first year of residency, and I'm officially, I guess, one of the coordinators of this event. We have designed some beautiful mugs to give around to people, to the members of the Stein Society, Deer Breeding Society. We are here at a beautiful place in San Antonio by the Riverwalk, and I couldn't be happier with being, with all these beautiful people.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael. I'm an MD PhD student. I did my PhD with Kai here, and I just want to interview him a little bit because he's been so busy tonight. Could you please introduce yourself, Kai?
My name's Kai Miller. I'm a pediatric and adult neurosurgeon at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota.
Excellent. And you've been asking everybody this tonight. I'd like to ask you this. Do you have any secret insider scoops, pro tips that you utilize in your practice that other people might benefit from?
Sure. So for those of us that implant devices either in the brain or sometimes in the vagus nerve, we attach them to pulse generators often in the chest. And I worry about these things eroding, particularly in children who are, thinner and they're going to be there for a lot longer. So I actually put the pulse generator below the pectoralis fascia, so then I can run the fascia closed. I have more layers of closure. I didn't invent this. This technique I got from Paul Larson, who often comes to meetings like this. He's in Arizona now, but he was at UCSF. He's usually here, but now that he's actually not here tonight because he's now the chief medical officer for a company, and they have their big night tonight. But what this does is this base, I can't do it for every patient because they have to be able to rechargeable distance, but it makes it so it's less likely to be able to erode through the tissue. So that's something I like. It's something I stole from a situation like this and propagate to all my patients and share with everyone else. I think it's great.
Excellent. A couple questions I have for you. I'm not sure how long Stein's been going. We can get into that. But if you look behind us here, it's tough to tell, but there's dozens of neurosurgeons, mostly functional, students, aspiring neurosurgeons, residents, and then industry folks here. I'm assuming it didn't start this big.
No, actually, it started because there was all these fancy neurosurgical societies. And when I was a third-year resident, I had this dream of having something where we would just kind of hang out. And I was in a medical fraternity called Phi Chi Medical Fraternity. And when you go to the national meetings, no, this was in medical school. It was a medical school fraternity. It still is. It's co-ed. It's they don't have all the crazy initiation rituals. It's medical. And they would give you these commemorative signs. And so I thought, I want to come up with something so that we can have a gathering spot and I can just kind of learn from all these scions. And the only thing I really have to offer is generating a social situation as a junior resident. So what I did is Jeff Ogeman, who, I'm your Jeff Ogeman, right? He was my PhD advisor and he was yeah. But you've done better than I did. You're a better version of me. So he and I was like, hey, I want to put this together. And we initially had something at Stanford where we did it like 10 of us, and I wrote a charter and I made a whole thing so we would have this be a society. And then we started having it at the national meetings that year. I think it was 2015 that we did it. And
so 11 years ago.
Yeah.
There was a hiatus for COVID?
COVID, we did a virtual version. So one of the Steins has a little COVID virus molecule on it. Not molecule, virus shell on it. And basically, we have these all the time. And I just figured out that this was a great way to learn how to be a better surgeon is by sitting down and talking to people in addition to everything you get in the OR. Because then you learn from 100 people, not from the 5 that do what you do. And then I just love keeping it going. My community of neurosurgical friends are the people that I still learn from. I'm going to learn, I intend to keep learning so I can bring the best for my patients till I'm dead. And And so Stein has been a great way to do that. It's fun to have it at the national meetings. It's become kind of a collector's thing where people come and collect the signs. And, we had our podcast come out of it. So I'm proud to get to do that. We live our lives in a community, and in our community as neuromodulation people, whether it's surgeons, neurologists, other clinicians, engineers, scientists, people from industry, we all have a shared mission. And social situations are they're the icing in life. They're the gravy, so to speak. So for me, this is that. And so these are all my friends. These are the people I hang out with. And if I have something I'm worried about in my clinical practice, these are the first people I call.
A couple of small questions here.
Yeah.
So this is the 11th year then, correct?
Yes.
It's always been at AANS?
No, we have some of these at like our functional courses. We have it in Colorado. Steve Ogeman runs them there.
Is it limited to functional people?
No, there's lots of people here that aren't functional.
All right.
We're all inclusive. If I started an exclusive society, it wouldn't be for too long before they kicked me out of that society.
Fair.
So,
and then early on, did you fund your own mugs?
Jeff Ogeman funded the mugs.
Okay, I was wondering.
He gave
about
me
that.
some seed money, and people used to pay because I was poor.
That's why it's
So I used to charge $15 or so. Yeah, that's why it's grown, is because now you get them. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Kai, for doing this.
Hey,
it's a pleasure.
Thank you for being such a wonderful protege, man. I'm proud of you.
It's been a very fun event, and it's fun every single year, and will continue to be so, hopefully. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching this episode. It sounds like there was a lot of great discussion at the AANS. And next time, Kyle will be back in the studio when we interview our next guest.